Greetings and welcome to the Thirsty Mage, the podcast whose bank account needs some healing every time Square Enix announces another game. I'm your host, David Lloyd, and now that my voice is healed from last week, I'm happy to be back in the recording session with friends to talk about the different healing mechanics in RPGs and how they can change a gameplay experience. Joining me tonight is the man still on the hunt, trying to find the meatiest enemy in Xenoblade 3, Casey Gibson.
There's so many meaty ones, but once you find out the trick to the chain attack, they all don't seem so meaty after all.
Yeah, no, I only just realized today, actually, I think, that I was going through the menus again, and I'm like, I haven't done a smash on the end of a chain yet, so, or not a chain, I guess, but a combo or whatever. I keep doing, break, topple, and then usually end up doing a daze, and sometimes I've done a launch, but I've still never done the smash, so.
It's all about you got to get at least 50, like 150%. Then you get the Bravo, and then that's like an extra 200% per turn, you know? So that's how you get up to those like juicy 900% damage increases.
Yeah. So yeah, that's learning new stuff about Xeno, so still getting through that. I think you and I are pretty close to the same spot there. I think you're a little ahead of me now, because I haven't quite finished up chapter 4, but...
Yep, yeah, and it's super long. I thought I was close, but I put 3 hours in today and finished it up, so.
Cool. And also joining us is someone who appreciates a good sound effect to go with their healing. It's Chris Reed.
All I'm saying is if my character is drinking a healing potion and there is not a hideous gulping sound that goes with it, there's not really healing going involved. In fact, it'd be best if they all sounded like a 1980s Pepsi commercial with that terrible, like, at the end. Then
and
you know
they have
you're
to
truly healed.
They have to wipe their mouth afterwards and flex.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wipe their mouth off, look off into the distance because they're fully healed by Pepsi. That's true healing right there.
Well, I mean, what healthy drink tastes good? Like you're chugging that down. You're not enjoying it. It's like
I don't know. Have you had some children's medicine? They make that taste good.
Oh, I was gonna say, when I grew up, our children's medicine was, I don't know if you guys got Buckley's in your country as of origin, but Buckley's was it was a medicine so distasteful, so severe that it was like being punished for having a cold. It's like if you're stupid enough to get sick, you know, we're gonna burn the crap out of your throat until your body wants, fights off the cold, just so that they don't have to suffer the indignity of drinking down that Buckley's. It was nasty stuff.
Back in the good days.
Yep. And finally, she's still on the lookout for a spell that will heal the wound that's left in her pocketbook from all these upcoming RPG releases. It's Paige Chamberlain.
I'm just running on 1 HP. Actually, no, I'm running on that thing where you have 0 HP and you need to get healed in the next turn to not die. That's when they have like a limbo state or something. Yeah, that's the budget is empty. That's
it reminds me.
Poison hasn't ticked yet, but once it does, you're done.
Yeah. There's a game that RPG. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was like an indie RPG where you could actually end up in negative HP, and you had like till the end of the turn to get back into the positive before you actually died.
I remember that.
That's
I don't
how
remember
it feels.
what it was, but
yeah. That's how I feel about all these episodes. Is I start writing notes down for stuff in healing, and it's like I can picture the mechanics. I can tell you how the mechanics work. I can tell you like details about it and how to use it and stuff. But then when it gets to the point where you're like, and what game was that from? That's where things fall apart for me.
Yeah,
it was one of them.
Yeah, it was a fun game too. I remember that. I spent all day today. There was a specific one we'll talk about later, but I spent the entire day trying to figure out what, like, I knew I had played it recently. I went on the Twitter account to like the games completed, and I'm looking through the list, and I'm like, no, it's not that. It's not that. It's not that. Couldn't for the life of me remember what it was until I was like walking past the games. Like I have like games the recent games I played are kind of like stacked up in this one corner, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, oh, it was Final Fantasy Origins, the game I fell off hard. That's my mushy brain. My mushy brain.
I do think it's a point though. It's like when you think about healing mechanics, they're so ubiquitous for so long. It's like you don't even think about them anymore, which is why I'm kind of glad we're doing this episode just to like look at them actually, because you just kind of take them for granted so much, you know?
Yeah, like I played 2 games back to back now, right? Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which they pretty much you go into every single battle full health, right? Like sure, after a battle it takes like 3 seconds, you're all fully healed, good to go. Versus Final Fantasy 6, which it's like nope, you're gonna go into that cave and you're gonna get
Old school.
bombarded with attacks, and you better have healing items, and you're not gonna get level up full health. It's just brutal, and like it made me think like which one do I like more? And then of course we're gonna get into all that, but just like how different they make the game feel, right? I like with Final Fantasy VI, it makes it feel like you're on a grueling adventure, right? You have to make sure you're stocked, ready to go, get in there. It's going to be a battle, right? Like even like any given battle is not usually particularly too hard, but it's just the culmination of all of it. Where Xenoblade, honestly, it isn't really that hard most of the battles, but you run into some of those elite characters, and it's like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna have to put together a good fight here. But even if I get by the the hair on my chin, right? It's like, well, I'm full health, ready to go again.
Yeah, I limped out of Zozo. I think it's called Zozo.
Or
the town with all the thieves.
With amazing music.
Yeah, amazing music. But they chased me out with while I was like pulling 3 corpses behind me because I had no one left in my party, and I think the only guy I had left was like Locke, and I was just running for my life until I got out of that town, and I had to go all the way down to the village to heal because I had no potion. Like I had used everything, I had nothing left. I was just
so scary.
Yeah, got out from the skin of my teeth. But I know before we get into the main topic, curious what I know. Paige has been playing some stuff she wanted to talk about a bit before we get into it. I'm curious what. I know Xenoblade 3 is probably the big one for most people right now, but I'm curious what else you guys are playing these days.
Well, I did just do a review for RPG Time Legend of Right, and that had a bit of healing in it too. It was based on like you would find food items, and then you like just pause in the middle of battle or outside of battle and eat it, and then that would also give you a stat boost as well. Not that I'm sure that really affected the game so much, but where somebody wants a pudding, so you line up in a line of ants all the way to the top of a mountain to get this pudding, and like there's a limit of 1 per customer, and I lined up multiple times to get the pudding because he didn't remember. Like I could stack them, and then the guy passed out. And eventually I ended up having a boss fight from his cousin or something that was very mad that what I'd done to him. So yeah, I played a bit of that, and that had fun sort of healing. It was like on this little, because the way that game is like visually designed, so it was like part of the paper crafty looking bit, and you've got tiny little dinner plates with the different like foods. So the pudding was like those tiny jelly cups stacked on top of each other, or gumballs and stuff. And then well, I don't know, it depends how much I was going to say. Like, I wanted to talk about Kirby and the Splatoon direct, but I think we probably will have enough time with all the different games we're talking about in this, so I don't know.
We've already talked about Splatoon years ago when it first came out.
I don't know, how old is this podcast of Splatoon? The first Splatoon
maybe
7 years ago, and the second one's 5 years ago now.
No, I think Casey's more making fun of the fact that Splatoon the next Splatoon coming out is DLC. It's not a full game.
Yeah, we were joking around. It's Splatoon patch 1.2.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like I mean, at the time, because there wasn't a whole lot, Nintendo was kind of doing their 1 a month release, and it was early on, and there wasn't a whole lot to choose from. So Splatoon 2 felt like a big deal at the time. And I mean, like, how many people had a Wii U anyway, right? So everyone, Splatoon 2 was the big thing. And,
yeah.
And now that Splatoon 3 is coming out and there's like 10,000 games available on the eShop, it doesn't feel as fresh as it did then.
The director didn't impress you, is what you're saying?
That is a fair assessment.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not gonna do the Splatfest. You're not gonna pick a team of paper, scissors, or rock.
I'm not going to set up a Google Calendar meeting time to figure out when the salmon run is available. And
oh no, they said no. Salmon run is now open all the time.
Oh well.
But in this game.
There it is. There's the real reason to buy Splatoon 3.
Yeah, Nintendo sold 100 million Switches, and now they have the funds to put that second server up so that they can actually have 24/7 access to online play.
And the thing about this is they're putting a lot more emphasis on the servers at Nintendo. So good luck, everybody. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, God bless. Yeah, well, I don't know if that salmon run all the time doesn't entice you. Maybe it's the 7 returning stages and only 5 brand new ones that might pull you.
Mahi though. It's one of the ones that didn't come back in Splatoon 2. So I was very
that's how they were waiting to drop that one, the one you've been waiting for from the first iteration.
And people are talking about how, because one of the new specials is it drives to a certain point and stops, so people are waiting for them to use it on a stage like that where you're just going to fall in the water straight away. That's why I don't play certain characters in Smash Bros where they have a sort of a dash attack, because I usually just fall off the edge. There's a card game in it. Is that not enticing to you? Collectible cards, RPGs with their card minigame.
It is funny to see you so against it, Casey, because I don't we were so into. I remember you, me, Perry, and playing hours of this.
Yeah, like I said, I've said on Talk Nintendo, it's I'm sure the game's gonna be great. It's gonna play, it's gonna be fun, but yeah, I just can't get excited for a game that literally out of the 12 stages in the game that come at launch, 7 of them are old ones, and only 5 brand. They couldn't even do a 6-6 split. You know what I mean?
And 40%'s all you get, Casey.
Yeah, and I know they're gonna keep playing for the next 3 months, or we'll give you new ones, but ugh, and it doesn't help. They look identical. It's you can't tell me that those 7 stages weren't copy and pasted from 2 into 3. You know what I mean? It's not even they probably did any work to them.
Mm. Whereas at least Hammerhead Bridge, they finished it because the lore of the first game was that it was getting constructed, but the turf was interrupting it. So now the stage is actually finished.
Took them a couple years, but they finally got there.
took them 5 years. That's a normal building project, isn't it? I just, yeah. Have you guys done an episode about stuff when there's mini games inside the game, like card games and things?
I don't know.
It sounds like something we may have done.
Yeah, we did. We did one about card games, and
I guess I was gonna say it sounds like something you would have done, this Triad and Gwent at least. So
I think now that you say that, we specifically did an episode that had Triple Triad and Gwent in it.
Pretty sure we did, yeah.
It
might have very well been Casey, David, and myself on that one. So I thought, who knows?
Sounded very familiar, but when you were at episode 175 now, and it's all a blur to me.
As long as we don't talk about SteamWorld Quest.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of safe things. There won't be. I'm under no impression that we're going to have a second Octopath Traveler episode. That's a gimme. That's
You don't want to talk about the mobile game?
Well, that's what I say. That it's probably Did they do anything to it aside from mobilize it?
I don't know. We might have 3 episodes on Final Fantasy VI by now, but we will not have 2 Octopath Traveler episodes.
Yeah. We'll end the podcast before that happens.
Yeah, that's right. burn down the Anchor Anchor server where it's
everything's gone.
Yeah, just delete the whole thing.
Yep. But as far as other games, I've just been playing Xenoblade. I guess I've been dabbling a little WoW Classic as well with Wrath of the Lich King coming up. Probably the most popular expansion of all time for WoW. So I've got some good friends I met during that time that I still talk to. So we're going to be playing a little bit of that. I don't know how crazy, but so I've been chipping away at that a little bit in the off time, but mostly been Xenoblade. I think I'm just about 30 hours in, and yeah, I just completed chapter 4, and it was totally like I feel like the end of chapter 1, 2, and 3 all ended after like a certain type of battle, right? I don't want to go too spoiler or anything. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I must be real close to the end of chapter 4 here. And I was not at all. I was like 5 hours away from the end of chapter 3. Like yesterday, I was trying to get, or chapter 4, excuse me. I was trying to get through it. And then I was like, all right, I put it down. And then when I got home today, I put in a nice 3-hour chunk. But I'm really enjoying it. It's super fun. I know some people have been not as high on it in certain aspects, but I've really been enjoying it.
You pointing your finger at me?
Well, you.
I thought he was talking about the guys on his podcast. They keep bagging on.
Yeah, Alex. Like Perry actually loves it, which is, and he's I think further than I am. I think he's into chapter 5 already, which Jerry usually takes him a long time to beat those games. And then Alex beat it, and he really loved the story, but he does not love the combat as much as 2. Xenoblade 2. So, but yeah, no, I've been enjoying the combat and everything. So, like I said, just chipping away.
I've been distracted by a smaller game, so I haven't played it for quite a while. I'm like, I better start playing today just to get back into how things work.
Yeah, pages are. You're already forgetting the what break topple days.
No, that bit's.
I love when you launch them though.
I never, because I hadn't played the other games. I was just like, "What the heck is going on?" There is a giant snake just spinning in the air.
And he's taking so damage. This is great.
Yeah.
You'll have to take inventory of all your gems again.
But the Kirby Dream Buffet launched this week, and it was actually midnight. It was a midnight launch for Australia for once, which is good. But then I had this weird thing where I couldn't post screenshots until some hours later, and I never had that pop up for me before ever. And it was just weird because I could play online, but I couldn't post the videos.
Don't share this goodness just yet.
Nintendo cracking down on the leakers.
So it's a really fun game, but it's not fair at all. The Grand Prix, which is the main way to play it, like online, I think it's like a race and then a mini game, which is just like try to get the most strawberries and avoid certain obstacles in each other. Another race, and then the battle royale where you're trying to knock each other off the map and then using the power up items and stuff. But the bigger you are, the easier it is to knock you off. So you can be in the lead and then absolutely like start losing in that last bit.
A Mario Kart special.
And then you have some Mario Party nonsense with bonus strawberries. So I was winning, and then this one guy got like 80 bonus strawberries just for like picking up the most cherries because that's a non-essential item, or hovering the most so he fell off more, and then they win.
Sounds like you're salty.
I am. How dare win? And then and then I've had other ones where I was in first place and then I get like 120 extra strawberries because I got all the bonus stuff. So it's like just so we're clear, definitely one. But it's really fun. It's only got 2-player split screen, and there's like a little bit of slowdown in that, so I guess that's why. And then it's 4-player online, but the lobbies don't wait too long. Like I went in the first one, and then it was 3 people. And I was like, bam, we're starting after 5 seconds, or 2 people. And I was like, bam, they're not sitting around waiting for a full lobby.
Can you play 2-player on one console online?
Yeah.
No, so you can't like you and
you can't like Mario Kart it like that. No.
That stinks.
I'd probably run the worst if it did that. But it's very fun. It's you're just rolling and then you eat the strawberries to get bigger, so you go faster. Knock each other off, things like that. And it's various like foods, like it's mostly sweets, but there was like a burger racetrack as well. So it's funny.
I saw the burger hat.
Yeah, burger with strawberries and whipped cream sitting on top of it. Like,
a weird combo.
Yeah. But I think it's a really fun little game. I probably out of the because there's been a few eShop Kirby games on the Switch, and I think this is probably the better one out of all of them. It's not like just another fighting one. Plus, there's heaps of like customization, unlockables.
I know it's like a cheaper game, like $20 or whatever. Is there like what do you call it? When they charge money for like clothes and stuff?
Microtransactions.
No, they don't.
I think the game's $22.50 Australian, and I think Americans were saying it might be 15.
15 USD. Yep.
Yeah.
It's curious. Yeah, hey, you want a hat for Kirby? $5.
I mean, you get some extra music if you've got Kirby save data from the other games, but yeah, all the customization is just like level up by collecting strawberries. That's it.
Oh, that's good.
Which is how I learned that there's a yellow Kirby and his name is Kibi.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, like it goes up to like I think it was like over level 100 or something to unlock everything. So I scrolled all the way down. Yeah, so that no, you buy it and then that's it. You've got it.
That's the way it ought to be.
Yeah.
And now today, I can try out Wave Race because that's on the NSO expansion pack.
Oh yeah, I wanted to try that. Yeah, I was joking around. I've never seen anyone play as well as that trailer did. Because I just remember playing that game and like just being terrible at the controls, you know. Meanwhile, the trailer they're doing like jumps and tricks. I was like, this isn't real.
Someone was just talking about like how well they edited the trailer was. They're like, all right, we just need a trailer for this game, and then it's like the person just puts their heart and soul into it.
Have you ever played Wave Race, Paige?
No, I don't. Yeah, I never had it.
I guarantee you will not ever see that level of gameplay again.
I can tell you one thing is that whoever was playing that does not have drift in their Joy-Con.
Oh, God.
They were using the N64 controller.
That is actually, to just double back real quick, Xenoblade, that is like the most annoying thing. I wish they would auto attack when you were within range, because when you move, it cancels any auto attacks, and the god dang drift. Oh, it's so annoying. So annoying.
Meanwhile, like, wasn't it a thing in Xenoblade 2 to intentionally cancel so you would do more auto attacks or something?
Yeah. This one just like I'm like, oh, I'm in the perfect spot to be doing my side attacks, and then freaking Noah's like, nope, I'm just gonna run away from the boss now.
Seems like a Noah thing to do. So we're talking about how different games or how different RPGs handle their healing. Obviously, most RPGs have some kind of health bar or whatever, and gets down and when you get into the fighting, into the combat. Back in the day, I guess if we start from the beginning, games like Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy. You'd have your fights and you'd have your inventory of potions and elixirs. There's always the joke about the people who go into the final boss with 100 elixirs.
4 million,
yeah. Or in the case of like Final Fantasy, if you're silly enough to go into the Marsh Cave without like 30 antidotes, because you ain't making it out alive if you don't got lots of antidotes. But yeah, I guess. I never really grew up playing D&D, but these are all kind of like, standard things that came out of that, the Western role play that made their way into JRPGs.
David was too busy playing hockey.
Yeah, playing.
What a nerd.
Yeah, what a loser.
Sports and video games, that's all I had time for. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, and I mean, it's we still have those kind of retro things even now. Like we still have games now still have the same kind of potions, elixirs. I was looking up like even though I was looking at the Eves 9 gameplay just to remind myself of how the healing worked there, and I remember abusing the healing, the little medikits or whatever they call them, to like mid battle, to get me through a fight. And you have like even JRPGs now, like there's still like healing items and stuff like Persona, and
yeah. So most games have healing items, and if they don't, it's because they have the auto healing or something.
yeah.
And even
So,
then, they
yeah.
might have spells, and then you've put in the rest as well, like that's based on say the D&D influence on like the fantasy and the RPGs. And yeah, lots of games, like some games, it's like you even need to. Well, it wasn't the Final Fantasies where it's like the tent is a finite thing.
Yep, yeah, where you
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
only
yeah.
you'd have to have tents, and then you can only
Like,
use them
how-
at
how-
save spots.
How bad is the tent that it can't last more than a night?
Yeah,
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's awful.
aren't most tents one per use? Like you just use it once and then throw it out the
and you
next
just
morning.
leave it there for the next person to clean it up, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And it's funny in the beginning of the game, right? And my experience most recent, so it's going to be most fresh, is Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, it'd be in the beginning. It's like, oh man, these tents are precious, like I don't have, and then all of a sudden, then you get like tons of money later in the game, and it's like, oh, I've got 50 tents. I don't have to worry about any. But I guess that's what a lot of games, right? In the beginning, things are more precious, and then by the time you get to the the later portions, or at least the end game or whatever, you're pretty well stocked. And as David alluded to before, right? Like never use those elixirs. Nothing. Yeah, you always save the ones that bring back the mana.
Well, even with like Final Fantasy VI, there's the joke of like every clock in Final Fantasy VI has an elixir if you check it. I also have always been curious of the like architectural layout of the pop-out cottage in Final Fantasies. It's like how they're walking around with a cottage in their pocket.
Maybe it's like yurts or something.
Yeah.
They got the nomadic, they've got the Amish barn building skills, and they just plop it all up real quick.
Yeah, there's just down trees on this path from like one side of the world to the other, of just like cottages that were built and left for future generations to use. It also just to go back to the Xenoblade real quick too, I laughed about in one of the cutscenes. I only just noticed all of like the utensils and are like, they have like multiple coffee makers, they have pop out tables and chairs, and I'm just thinking, what sucker in that group is hauling that stuff?
Tyon, definitely.
Yeah, it's probably got those little paper things that it just floats behind them or something in a big box.
A pack horse, like he made a pack horse out of Mondo or something. Yeah. They're walking behind.
Yeah. And then Chris, you had mentioned in the notes for Witcher 3, that's one of your favorites, how they utilize food.
Yeah, and I love this about video games. It's just patently ridiculous, right? So in a lot of RPGs, food somehow equates to healing. I think that goes back to Gauntlet back in the day, where you would eat food, and it would, if you didn't have food, it would say Red Wizard like needs food badly.
One of my favorite things is I prefer there's like the Gauntlet Legends Dark Legacy, which is slightly different from the original Gauntlet, so you weren't constantly like dying from hunger. But I love like those, we still get like those voice lines like Red Sorceress needs food badly, and if you opened a chest with a key and someone else ran into the chest and took your stuff, your character would be like, how rude.
But I just absolutely love it. And newer games have actually figured it out that, hey, food should actually equal stamina, like in Monster Hunter and things like that. You eat your rations to be able to perform more, but it's just how ridiculous it is. Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games like ever, and it's got this grand story and these epic visuals and everything, and you're in the middle of combat and you're hitting a button to eat to drink milk and eat bread while you're fighting these guys with the sound effect, right? With the sound effect that you're doing it. Yep, exactly.
It's good, yeah. And like with classic WoW, it's like it's always out of combat, but like you'll sit down and then you eat and drink it. Like it'll be two different things, like to regain your mana and your HP, but like you can do them both at the same time. So you just end up with a cup with like a piece of bread on the top of it, and then it's just one animation of drinking the bread cup.
That's fantastic. And like in Witcher 3, it's like it's part of the gameplay mechanics too, because there's a reason they let you interact with basically everything these poor people in this world have, and that's so you can steal the food so that you can heal yourself throughout the game. And it's just I just absolutely love it. It's a pure video game thing. Nothing else could really
I like in Fable 2 where your diet can make you fat. So then you have to like eat a ton of celery because it's negative calories to lose weight.
That's funny. I like in Fallout 4, where like there's this food everywhere, but most of it's like irradiated,
yeah,
where it's like so you have it's like this risk reward of like, okay, my health is down, so I could eat this radioactive spam or radioactive Nuka-Cola and get some health back, but then I'm raising my rads. It's this like balancing act of in that game of.
But if you have enough Rad-X, then you can eat all the irradiated food you want and just pop a pill and be like, yeah, I'm good now.
Yeah. You got to save those pills, don't you know? But yeah, it's funny how different games sort of, even like potions within, and I guess more MMOs, right? Like you can use one potion during combat, but then there's some sort of cooldown. But then a game like Diablo, it's just like literally, it's all you do is chug potions, and like you can buy as many as you want, and you can use as many as you want. So it's like it ends up being a game where like, oh, I'm out of potions, I got to run to town real quick and reload.
Yeah, most games it's like we'll talk about different types, but like most games it's balanced around that. But then there's games where it seems to be based entirely on your self-control. So in Breath of the Wild or like the latest Shantae, you can pause at any point, even in a boss fight, and eat and get golden hearts, so you have an extra temporary like health buff until that you take the damage. So it's hard to like to not abuse that, because why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah, I guess like, and it's one of those things I always think of this, but I never actually come to a consensus on what I actually like the most. But I think I like when there are sort of restrictions there, right? Where I think like Xenoblade, I mean, I love Xenoblade and it's great, but and I get also that it probably makes tuning the game way easier when you just know like, okay, they're always going to go in pretty much like fully healed and like at optimal, party strength. You can get your buffs and stuff out of combat, then you go in, and fight, and then the second later you can start a new battle at full health again. But I think it adds to the like adventure, and I guess there's some stress to it, right? Like some consequence, if you will, of like the Final Fantasy VI model, where it's like, and maybe not to that extent, but where it's like, okay, I'm going to go on a long adventure and it's going to be a while till I'm in another town. So I need to make sure I'm sort of loaded up because I'm going out on an adventure, right? Where like, yeah, Xenoblade, it's like literally, like David said, it's like they've got freaking coffee and tea and they're just having a fun old time out there, But like, meanwhile, like there's a lot of like horrible stuff going on. But I feel like it like sort of doesn't necessarily ever feel that pressing. Where and like I guess it's sort of some older games, but some more present games too. But there's just more. There's I guess stress. There's more. What's the word I'm looking for? Consequences at the end of the day, where it's like, hey, I need to make sure I'm set here, otherwise, things can go bad.
Well, and I think what you're hitting on is that there's a different emphasis for each. Like Xenoblade games really want you to focus on each battle as its own type of thing, right? And if you make it out of that, great. You just keep exploring through the world. But then you compare it to like Persona 5, right? Which is a big part of that is navigating and surviving the dungeons and making sure you're allocating your resources properly to do that. It's just an entirely different emphasis.
Well, especially with like in Persona 5, like you only have so many days to complete the dungeon. And plus, you're doing all your social sim stuff, so you've got to allocate time for that. So then it's like how far can you get into the dungeon before like you've exhausted all your healing and all your spells? Like now you've run out of magic, you've got nothing left. It's like, okay, I guess it's time to leave. I'll have to come back and pick up where I left off after I restock the fridge, sort of thing,
That reminded me of I got 3/4 through Fire Emblem Echoes, and which I really liked, but it just got to a point where so you've got the individual battles, and obviously if someone hasn't died or whatever, they're fully healed in the next fight. You don't have to like heal people between that, but there are like these dungeon areas, and that is like a constant. You have to like keep pushing through it. Now I can't remember if you'd heal in between them, but at the very least, you'd have to worry about the permadeath aspect a bit more, because if they died in one of the earlier fights, you still got to get through the entire rest of the thing without them, not just like the rest of the game, but like through that whole dungeon. And I got to I think the second last floor of this tower, and Celica or whatever died, and because when the main characters die, that's a game over. Which meant I had to redo that entire tower, and I was like, oh, that's I put that down for a bit, and then I haven't gone back to it.
Yeah, I guess that's the risk of setting up something where like a dungeon or a tower or whatever, where you have to kind of manage that thing, because the time loss in something it reminds me of like the Marsh Cave in Final Fantasy 1, where it's like you could get there and you could beat the wizards, and then like you're killed on the way out, and then you just got to redo the whole thing. And it's like trying to redo trying to redo something that's already tough is always like a chore.
I did a lot of my strategy in mini games, which is to, like, if enemies don't respawn, is to go in, beat some guys, run back to the save point, and then go further. Beat some guys.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into our next section of healing mechanics, which is games that use like locations, like there's specific locations where you're expected to heal or have like your kind of your safe area to regroup and get things set back up.
But just before that, one thing I was thinking, because we're talking about healing, and typically that's for taking damage in battle, but a lot of games, especially the ones that don't heal you between battles, you have a lot of damage that you can take outside of it. Like Pokemon and some other games, if you're poisoned, every time you take a step, you see like
that's Final Fantasy as well.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than that, and especially in those old Final Fantasy games where you take one square step and it does that poison.
Yeah, and the squishy sound.
Yeah. God, that is just
or like in Pokemon, it has the sound and the visual effect and everything.
That's pretty good, David.
And then traps as well, like walking into a trap and then taking a bunch of damage. So that seems to be like if it wasn't, if you didn't find it hard enough that you were having to manage your health throughout this whole area until you could get to your safe point, you've also got various status effects and traps to hurt you.
Yeah, some of those older games could definitely be punishing, especially like the random encounters where it's like, all right, I got through the big boss. Those are the most brutal, when it's like you fight a big boss and then like you could still get attacked on the way out, or afterwards towards the next spot. Like that's mean. That's just mean.
Well, like the snakes, to go back to Final Fantasy one last time, like you have the asps that would poison you, but then you would also have like the cockatrice or however it's pronounced, that would like make you stone when you're trying to escape too. Like all these like,
and then you have like half your party stoned, and then you just lose.
You're just you got two murder party members and two statues looking over them while the game over screen kicks you back to your last save.
And then that's where you just scream and yell and you turn the system off.
Yeah, you just go cry in a corner.
I definitely like playing Final Fantasy VI. There were some moments that I've got legit like very frustrated, angry, that it has been a long time since I like screamed at the TV like that playing a game, like, are you effing kidding me? And then I'd be like, all right, let's restart it.
Kate comes home just to find the Super Nintendo controller lodged in the big screen TV.
That was my brother growing up. We had so many broken controllers, not to the TV, but like we had like N64 controllers that were just missing big chunks of plastic off the prongs, and my brother was a controller chucker.
Well, to go back to Pokemon, yeah, like you said, you get your Pokemon poisoned or whatever, and yeah, head off to the Pokemon Center, get everyone refreshed, and whatever status ailments that they were, hurting from, they're all back up and feeling good. If only we had that in real life.
Oh boy, yeah.
If only the free healthcare was that effective.
Yeah, that's right. If modern medicine was
What's
only
free
that
healthcare?
easy. Yeah, we got two Americans here. That's
well, I don't know. I'm in the country with subsidized healthcare, so
I'm in the one with purely free healthcare. So I'm riding the unicorn up here.
Your appointment.
How much are your video games?
Yeah. Touche.
It pans out for us,
Ours keep is our $2,000 deductible. Thank you.
Ours is your appointment costs this much, but we'll give you like $40 back, and it's like, why don't you just make it cost less instead of making me pay the amount and then refund? It's like
somebody needs a job to push the papers, I guess.
Oh, that is nothing compared to the nightmare that is American healthcare claims. So don't worry about that.
But it's just when people say like Australia is free, it's like it's subsidized. So it's like some things are free, depending on your income level. They might you get it to an in between level, and then it's like, okay, now everything's too expensive because you're not qualified for the low. Like
you fall in the donut hole is what they call it here. But yeah, no, Americans free if you just never go. So
yeah, just don't get sick.
Casey's figured it out.
Yeah. I've been to a doctor in like a decade. Probably not a good thing, but what are you gonna do?
And then the Pokemon Center is based on like the traditional inn that you would have in the towns. So that's like you're generally a relief point of an RPG is when you get to a village and you can go to the inn, unless you're broke, because some games it's like free every time. Like you're playing Voice of Cards and they just come up with some excuse for why it's free, like you're the 1,000th customer or something.
Yeah, I love that about Voice of Cards. It's so clever.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then other games, every town, the cost of living is apparently more expensive, even if the town looks like dog.
Apparently, the closer you are to the final boss, the higher the rates. I don't know if it's like some kind of inflationary.
It's very funny when the game has like fast travel and you just fast travel to the first town and go.
Yeah, I'll take my.
Oh yeah, you got to do it every time. An interesting game with the inns. There was an old DOS game called.
Oh, we lose them?
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
I bet it was a very interesting antidote.
We'll never know.
Yeah. He never made it to that inn, and the poison got him.
He was about to reveal the secret of the inn, and he got cut off.
Well, while we wait, you're bringing up Persona 5 as like, you sort of, you can't. No, some people can manage to do the entire palace in one stretch, but typically, at least your first time in the rodeo, you're not gonna be able to do that. So it basically was like a stress until you could get to the safe room, because then you'd at least have a save point, for one, to not lose all your progress, and two, you could use up your healing items and stuff.
Yeah, I remember with Persona 4, I sort of liked that, and in Persona 4, right, like the dungeons were way more procedurally generated, opposed to more handcrafted in 5. And correct me if I haven't played 5 in a long time and I never beat it, but they were like actually designed, right, more so than
all the dungeons were specifically designed.
That's what I thought. All right, so I sort of liked with 4, just like, hey, go as deep as you can, like try and conserve, your mana or your MP and everything, and all your healing stuff, but like, try and go as far as you can, and then be like, oh, I got there, time to sort of call it quits. And I sort of like that, and I guess that's more of a real sort of dungeon crawly feel to it. But I sort of like that gameplay too. I would say, hey, get as deep as you can, and you can always sort of bounce back afterwards.
I like it in Persona 5 because it's a safe room and it makes you feel safe. You just don't have to worry. It's like the
Resident Evil safe room where you could like take a breath of relief for a minute, if only for a minute.
They're all well paced too. Like the safe rooms are always seem to be in spots where it's like You're like, I don't know if I can keep going here.
Yeah. It is funny though. I had one where I'm like, I went to the safe room and then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to progress anymore because I'm running on fumes. And I come back, and then just after that safe room is like a lock, like you have to go and do stuff outside of the dungeon. And I'm like, I just wasted an entire day. I should have just gone a bit further and seen what was ahead. But I was like, no, I do like in Persona 3 where it's every so many floors you can go back to Tartarus, like so what I would do is do a certain amount of floors, run back like out so I could save, and then just teleport back up to that number floor and keep going. So that way I wasn't losing more than half an hour at a time. Yeah.
Well, we got Chris back here, and we were
sitting on the edge
all
of our
ears
seat.
on the inn story and his router. We're pretty sure he got shut down because he was going to reveal some kind of secret that cannot be shared. But
yes, it's arcane knowledge, never to be spoken of again. What did I even say? I don't even remember.
Oh
An
no!
old RPG.
You had an anecdote about inns.
Oh, just a really quick one about old DOS game Betrayal at Krondor. It's pretty funny. You can pay to stay at the ends, but that was always stupid because you could just, if you had camping supplies, you could just sleep in the town and you'd be fine. You'd be rested and healed. But if you decided to go into the wilderness and sleep there, you're getting shanked by bandits in the night. So it was always, every time. It didn't matter.
It's
You know, there
actually
was some sorry sap that tried to camp out there, and then he never camped again. He's like, I'm not getting stabbed.
it's actually a protection racket by the inns.
Yeah. It's the inn.
They've got reasonable rates. Just go.
Yeah, his night job.
There's a sign up on the wall. Don't want to be shanked? Come rent our room.
100 gold.
Yeah,
That's fun.
yeah. I guess I was thinking of in Monarch. So there's, on top of the fact that you have like your health, there's also like an insanity meter that you can't let get too high, or you'll end up your character will just go insane and attack anything and everything that's within range. So there's actually like a doctor's office, like what you would find, like it's a high school setting, right? So there's like the doctor's office that you go to, and they just give you some pills, and everything's good. Your sanity goes back, and you're all healthy again. Not setting a good example for the kids, but still, it's
Take pills, feel better.
Yep. And then I guess, like, I would say maybe one of the most famous now, I suppose, would be, for when we were looking at like healing locations, would be like the bonfires of the Dark Souls series. Mm-hmm. Just the way it's set up, in the sense that like you have your Estus flasks that technically are like infinite, like you can refill them all you want, but depending on you start off with only a few sips, like you get a few tries, and then you can upgrade the flask and get more. But when you hit the bonfire, it's again like you have to make the decision of, am I going to heal myself and refill my flask at the expense of respawning all the characters that I just defeated? So it's a good way of again implementing that risk reward mechanic of is this something you got to decide if it's worth it or not. Like, is it worth bringing back these enemies to refill this flask, or should I just try to keep trudging along?
A save point's always worth it to me.
Well, and even in Elden Ring, they changed it up a bit, because like now that you have like the I can't remember. Oh man, it's been a month since I played it, but the kind of just like you want to unlock the locations so that you can fast travel to them.
Yeah, the Sites of Grace really kind of mitigate that, because even if it does, refresh the enemies, there's so many of them, you can just either rush around or use them to grind for whatever they're called in Elden Ring. I can't even remember anymore. But
yeah,
I guess that was a little different in like the more Dark Souls, right, where it's like more open corridors.
Yeah.
It's tighter to get around them. But I do like that risk reward. I like when the game sort of gives you an option, like, hey, you could do this, but there is going to be sort of, like you said, maybe not necessarily a downside, but yeah, something, it's not a freebie.
Speaking of freebies, we were just talking about games where when you level up, like I think for the majority of the games that you play, like typically when you level up in a game, you expect to kind of have that refill of like your magic and your health, to kind of, I don't know, celebrate your newfound levelness, I guess.
Yeah.
I know there's lots of games where I've actually used it as like a survival mechanic where it's like you go into a dungeon and it's like, okay, I could use this health, or I could try to find, maybe a lesser enemy to kind of get me over that hump, so that I get that. It's almost like having a spare elixir sort of thing.
That or I guess this is more of like an action RPG kind of situation, but like when you're in mid battle and you're like, oh god, and then all of a sudden you level up and it's just like, like that happens in MMOs a bunch too, right? Where it's like, oh no, I pulled an extra enemy, like, oh god, and then you hit that level up and it's like, not only are you happy you leveled up, but yeah, it's like, now I don't have to run back. I'm not dead yet.
I think what's like, so we're talking about how there's games that don't restore your HP or SP or MP after you level up. I think what's slightly more insulting than that is the games where that doesn't, but because your HP's been expanded from leveling up, you technically got healed a whole like 2 points or something.
Oh, like, right, yeah.
Like, oh, thanks.
That extra slap in the face.
Yeah, like, ah.
Does you guys have any examples of games that you didn't get your HP restored after leveling up and you just wanted to hurl that controller through the TV?
I want to say what game.
I want to say the Lufia games did that. Like Lufia 1 and Lufia 2 on the SNES would do that too. Like you'd be leveled up, but oh wait, I'm still like almost dead. So I'm going to die and then have to restart the game and I won't be leveled up anymore.
You're going back to that level.
It was just
big
a
tease.
Complete tease. Yeah, Jinx. Yeah, Final Fantasy VI didn't do it. But at least, like, if you leveled up and died, you'd keep those levels,
Oh.
But
see, that's better. That's at least halfway. It's like, you did it, buddy, but you're still gonna die.
Yeah, you got to go back and redo the whole dungeon again.
He got hit on the back of the head and dragged to the entrance. That's what happened.
Yeah,
that's why you still got the level. But yeah,
yeah. You didn't forget the level up. You just forgot your way. But yeah, no, it is cruel. I can't, like, what monster develops a game and doesn't give you the satisfaction, little HP boost.
Well, I remember Voice of Cards is another game that made me think of the utilizing level up as like a strategy.
Yeah,
because there was lots of dungeons there where it's like you're trying to get to the end or whatever, and there's no way to heal outside of a battle, other than going to the end. I think, like, when you're in the dungeon, I don't recall any opportunity to heal.
I think that I prefer games where they let you pause, like, some games that you pause and heal, use an item, or you use your skills. And some will even have like an auto heal thing. But I found Voice of Cards is very weird in that you could only heal in the battle. So sometimes the first turn would just be healing someone.
Yeah, that's annoying. I think you should be able to definitely heal. Like, if you have the resources to do it out of battle, you should absolutely be able to.
Yeah, I remember
no time to put band-aids on.
Yeah, that's right.
Random attack, random battle.
Yeah.
And you guys are in the East franchise with the level up healing, but I was thinking about games where, so we're talking about some games where you can kind of just infinitely consume items as long as you have them. Whereas I really liked at the start of East 8, your healing was kind of limited because you had to find empty bottles to get the healing potions. So it would be based on how many bottles you had found and filled in. So you had a certain amount of healing, but you could only do so much. And I liked that because I found that it balanced it. I actually had, there's the fight against like a big bird at the top of the mountain. And I was literally eating like stuff that was restoring the tiniest thing of HP. I ate every single item I had.
Like a million nuts from the tree or something,
I ate every single item I had just so I could beat that boss without having to try again.
And I think that works really well within the context of that game, right? Being sort of not like washed up on that island there, and sort of
And it
it
they
makes
did
sense you don't have a million bottles.
like the thematic and narrative stuff was really well implemented in that with but yeah, I like when it's a little bit balanced. So yeah, for example, the Estus flasks were sort of limited, but you can get them, or you say you got to head back home because you've only got so many bottles to fill. And even in some of the Zelda games, you've got the bottles of soup or like potions or whatever, like because you can use empty bottles for a few different things. So it's sort of like, oh, what do you want to fill into like, what do you want to put in your cup?
That's a lot like in Zelda where you'd have like the bottles and it's like Ocarina of Time. It's like, do you want milk? Do you want to put milk in a bottle? Do you want to put
pumpkin
the
soup,
green potion in there? Yeah, soup. Yeah, but it would be funny to watch Link like do a timeout motion, mid fight with Ganon. Like, hold on a second, I just have to I got this Boblikin creme brulee that I have to eat, and then I'm gonna follow it up with some milk.
It'd be really funny.
Creme brulee.
If there was a game that like made you think the system was like that, but every time they drank, they would like smash the bottle or something, and then like throw it to the ground.
It just an arrow just shatters it in their hand while they're trying to drink.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go on. This is kind of the topic, I guess, that kind of sparked the whole topic, or it's games with health regeneration. So it's you just kind of finish the battle or finish what you're doing, or you're out in the world and your health just comes back. So and that's clearly a Xenoblade 3 thing that we're going to talk about here. But they're the earliest known example though of this recharging health out in the wild. It's a game I've never heard of. This game, Hydlide or Hydlide. Yeah. So I guess it's a PC RPG from 1984. Well, in Japan in 1984 anyway. I guess it came in 1989 to the NES. And in that game, the hero would just kind of stand still, and the health and spells would just regenerate. So you just kind of wait it out or whatever. And I whether or not this influenced the E series, but that they're also were utilizing this mechanic early on too, as far back as the original back in '87. So.
Yeah, Hydlide's one of those really influential games that a lot of people have forgotten about. I know Retronauts brings it up pretty regularly when they're talking about games. It just because of how it influenced Ys and then things after that. And it also had influence on Zelda and things like that too. It also has some of the most terrible music you'll ever hear in your life. Do not listen to it on loop because it's just awful.
Yeah, so and then it's very noticeable in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, especially when you're someone like me who enjoys jumping off large cliffs and seeing, testing out the limit of how far I can fall before my party gets upset at me.
Yeah, it's funny because
if they just fall off the ropes, see them respawn and their health climbing back up.
Yeah, I think Chris mentioned it before, right? Where it's just, I guess these games with like the crazy regeneration, like Xenoblade, they want you to focus more on the gameplay itself, opposed to where like some of the other ones are more like it's the adventure, right? And I guess with turn-based combat, it might be a little bit more different, like more strategic, right? Than where Xenoblade is like, there are definitely, turn-based things, like specifically in the chain attacks, right? Like, really, like, hey, pick which one you want, and that's really
the chain attacks are good for healing too.
Oh, yep,
healing up.
That's usually when I'm like, oh god, I'm sort of low on health, and then all of a sudden
I'm like waiting for the chain attack to pop and be like,
Yep. Then you walk out, and it's like I'm full health. I've got regen on. I've got attack power up, and the enemy's dead. It's like, oh, okay.
Maybe there just wasn't any menus left for potion inventory management. And like, they're like looking at it like, look, we got like 15 friggin' menus. We cannot fit another one. Take the potions out.
We can't have a 35th hour of tutorials. Come on, something's got to get cut.
And it's one of the games where food is buffs and not healing. So
Yeah.
And just know, you guys haven't finished the game yet, right? So they tutorialize all the way until the end. So there might be a healing menu right at the end.
They'll introduce potions at level at chapter 7.
The bit where they clean their clothes will turn into like a bathing mini game, and you have to like scrub the soap.
Yeah.
Joy-Con.
And there'll be a little hand and a little arrow that says, press the A button. No, keep pressing the A button. No, keep pressing the A button.
I want to know who wrote Punch Out and what health regeneration Punch Out has.
Oh yeah, well in Punch Out, you're in between. You can regenerate. It's not the full thing though. That's the thing. You regenerate a little. Yeah, it's random.
I swear to God, it's I used to have arguments with friends about whether it was random or not, because between rounds, like in the original NES Punch Out, anyway, you would hit the select button as fast as you can, and the trainer's arm would start hitting you harder, like getting you worked up, and so then when the round started, the bell would hit, and then you'd watch your health, and you're like, come on, go full, and it always no, it was always random. So friends would be like, no, you didn't hit select long enough. You should have did it for another 2 minutes.
Yeah, you idiot.
Yeah. But yeah, that was definitely an early game where you could regenerate your health. I was thinking of Mass Effect series, and so I was looking it up, and I remembered, but it wasn't the health that would regenerate, it was the shield. So they kind of split it between, like, you have your shield and you have your health, and you could take damage and the shield would go away, and then that's when you'd want to get undercover and kind of wait it out until the shield came back. But your health, you'd need like a medikit to regenerate that. So they kind of split it into two with that series.
And you needed the medikits to like recover your teammates too, so that cause they would always just go down right away because pathfinding is terrible, and for them they just ran right into combat.
Poor AI seems to be a pretty common thing for these types of games in this section anyway, because I feel like Xenoblade 3, you got the 6 characters, like I can't be them all at once, so you guys, I'm constantly yelling at Taeon, like use a heal, you stinking idiot, like revive Noah, what are you doing sitting around here, like what the hell, man, get off your ass.
They were so bad in the beginning, and as you unlock more classes, they definitely, like the medic, the gunner medic, he really pumps out the heals. Yeah. So it's funny, they should have given a better healer up front, I feel like, just so it was a little bit more, even, because there were definitely times I was just like, what the heck are my teammates doing? Like, and then
watching me die.
And then you have
switch to them, and they all have every art available, and it's like,
and you have to turn off like the auto aura bussering because the 2 healers will suddenly like
that's definitely. Yeah, you gotta like switch over and cancel it real quick. Like, stop!
Everybody's dead on the ground, and they've got the Ouroboros robot just going bananas. It's like, you guys can you can help us out anytime now.
I think that's what some people said, to use the follow the leader command is just to get them to come near you for 1 second and then turn it off.
Get the area of effect heals on you.
Yeah. But when because in some games food is healing and sometimes it's stamina or something completely different. And then I was thinking Mystery Dungeon games have auto healing unless you are hungry. So if you keep your hunger above, empty, every time you take a step or whatever, because every step is a turn or an attack or anything, everything moves. You heal up again. But if you're hungry, you do not heal up. So you've got just a separate meter to manage that. So there's some auto healing, but you have resources to manage to keep that going.
And Chris, you had mentioned Deus Ex or Deus Ex, however you pronounce it. Human Revolution is not the one. I actually played. What's the one after Human Revolution?
Oh,
I'm blanking on the
subtitle.
Mankind. Yeah. I remember those that getting the Augs for health regeneration.
Yeah, it was really broken in Human Revolution too. They probably at some point patched it up, but like because you could like it would do a few seconds more, but I think the timer was broken in the game. So if like you actually max it out, like you'd get get shot and you would be like taking no damage. So you're just walking around levels like the Terminator, just mowing down everybody.
Yeah, and then we talk about how Xenoblade's kind of like MMO like, and the health regeneration is very similar in like stuff like Final Fantasy 14, and pretty sure World of Warcraft is that way too.
So I like Paladin has like one healing spell. So sometimes because you've got like tank like the like buffs and stuff to temporarily be invincible or like to take less damage, and sometimes when it was bad I would just start casting the healing spell I have on myself just so that way I would heal after as soon as I got hit, like time it right. And sometimes I've carried because normally it's you got to just trust the healers, but sometimes I'll just pop a healing spell on the healer because I'm not sure, and you don't want those guys to pass it.
You can't always trust those healers in those raids. I tell you, it was a crapshoot whether you got to.
So
I've had many a poor healer. It wasn't me. I'm gonna just say it up front. It wasn't me, but my teammates were not happy with a few of our healers. Let me tell you.
So
words were said. Words were typed.
Sometimes they end up covering themselves, but I just wasn't sure, so I just like popped the healing spell on the healer. Just it was worth the extra seconds or whatever to make sure that we weren't out of the one people that can keep us alive. And actually, I had a few time where one healer was so bad, and I managed to carry through like 2 of the boss fights with just like me and 1 DPS, and I'm just like healing myself and healing them.
The longest fight ever.
Yeah, like really long.
You're not doing any damage because your heals.
You almost feel like asking if they can turn remote desktop on so you can just take over their keyboard for a minute.
Yeah.
Let me just step away for a second.
In that case, it was that they were not listening to us when we were explaining the mechanics repeatedly, even though it was my first time in the dungeon and not theirs. And also that their equipment was broken before they went in.
That'll do it.
So that's the only time I've blocked anybody in that game. Was that person. I was so mad. And you can't say anything because otherwise you get banned or something if you're mean.
Oh, well, that's in Warcraft. They'll let you hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not like, where Final Fantasy is like, nope, we're going to be nice. Warcraft's like, they're gonna rip your head off and call you an idiot and kick you.
All of a sudden, SWAT's kicking down your door because you had a bad healing run?
Yeah, you got swatted. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah. No, healing is... can definitely be stressful. Actually, I saw a funny meme. It was like like a DPS in the new dungeon, and like it's just like a guy having a great time, and then it's like one of those cracked out faces like of the healers, like, this is terrible. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's definitely the unappreciated class.
Yeah. Without her, they make fun of it. It's like, imagine paying $15 a month to heal someone else so they can damage the boss.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple sections left here that we have left. If you wanted to talk, I know Paige, you were really big in the Atelier franchise. If you wanted to talk about the crafting way of healing,
yes, because there's a lot of games where you make your healing items. It's not just you don't just buy them or find them. You've got to make them. Like even in Breath of the Wild, like the food dishes, you make them as well. But Atelier was very much, it's balanced around you make your equipment. Like level is important, but most important is making the best equipment and putting all the right attributes into that. And the same with the healing items, because you use the better ingredients, you do the system better, it will heal. Like there'll be healing bonuses.
More potent.
Yeah, and in the various games, they've changed it up a bit. So in Atelier Ryza 1, items, you could only use them if you assigned them to like a core crystal, and then they would actually, the item wouldn't disappear when you used it. It was based on a charge system, so you would have so many core charges, and that's how many times you could use the item until you needed to like go to like a save point and restore it. And so similar in the second one. I think they made it a bit I think you could get the charges a different way because they didn't have that recharging spot thing anymore. But yeah, it was a way to differentiate it from the older games where if you used an item, that's it, it's gone forever, goodbye. So often I would make sure to keep one of certain items because I don't know if it's all of them, but at least most of them that I've played, you can pay to duplicate items you've crafted yourself. So if you make a really good healing item, then you just pay them money to keep making that instead of fetching the ingredients and crafting it every time. So I'd always keep at least one of that and not use it, like put it in the container or something, put it in put it in the inside storage and not the outside storage to make sure it didn't get used up. And then and so with that you could use the healing items outside of battle as well. And then in Sophie 2, they didn't have the core charge system, but items could have more than one use before they would expire and like break. And then when you got home, the uses would heal up again. So, and then you could, like, based on how you craft it, you can make it have extra uses, or when it was on its last use, it would be particularly effective, like the bomb or something. So same thing where it's similar to the core charge, but like less annoying. I liked it a lot better, and you would just make sure to keep to not use it all up, because otherwise I'd break the item. But it was like less work, and you got to use the item for a bit longer, so you could throw the bomb about 3 times, or your cream. Or I was like, something I was really confused about was like only certain characters could use certain items, and then it was actually just based on their level. Like, so obviously all the alchemists could use a lot, and then like some of the guys, they could barely use any healing items themselves. Like they could carry some, but like not a lot. But yeah, Atelier, it's very much you are in charge of healing. You are. It's up to you, and you can make items that cure all the different status ailments, or like a healing item that also cures something. Like it's up to you to figure that out.
Yeah, and I only played Atelier Rise. I only played Atelier Rise, but what I really liked about that was it really kind of fixed the problem of hoarding items, because you really didn't have any, right? You got supplies, and like you said, you were using the charges for everything, and so it was really refreshing for me because I'm a notorious item hoarder anyway. So it's like, well, now I can't. I can't. I have to use these charges and figure out the best way to do it. And I thought it was really cool how they did that.
And then another game that it's about setting up like your items, because you can only hold so many of certain kinds of items in the Monster Hunter games. It'd be like 10 potions, 10 this max potions, like 1 max, those things. So it's a limit to how many you can carry. But in the but you'd craft the items yourself, or you could buy them, but it's a bit cheaper. And then from, I think, World On, or at least I tried to search, and I don't think it was a thing in the older games, you can just auto craft. So if you have those random items in your inventory and it's like not maxed, you would make the potion if you had the honey and the ivy. And what's really important is stacking your like inventory with everything you need, because, well, actually no, in the newer games you can kind of just it's not so important because you can just go back to camp and take anything out from your home base. So it's a little less now. Like it's still somewhat important, but they're not so strict on it. And then that also had the system of the food is actually the stamina. So you have the So Tasty, which in World they changed the music tune because apparently it was too confusing for people, but then that made it confusing to the people that had it memorized and when to pick the steak off the fire pit. So I didn't like that. They changed that.
Yeah, I'm not. I only have about an hour's worth of experience with the Monster Hunter. I remember choosing the loadout or whatever in the little chest, but I definitely don't know if I attacked enough of them to, put them on a pike and eat them for dinner. But yeah, I guess we're getting late. Well, it's been a hot minute since we've had a podcast go this long. Usually we're around the hour mark, but I wanted to get in one quick last call before we wrap things up. And yeah, I was thinking, last week I had the one man show of me basically just rhyming off all my favorite games for the year, and talking about what I think my games of the year are. And I was curious, we got everyone here now. We would find out how it's going with everyone else, and what their favorite game they've played so far this year is. So yeah, how about Chris? Do you want to kick us off with your favorite games this year?
Yeah, and Jordan's not here, but we know he mentioned before that Elden Ring is still probably his favorite game of the year so far. For me, the one I was thinking about, the one that really, it's kind of surprising. I think my game of the year so far might be Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Just because it's the most fun I've had in a game all year, and there was nothing about it that really upset me or made me mad. Elden Ring does, and like I was all into triangle strategy until the very end missions, and there were things that happened at the very end that really soured me on everything I had played before. Well, it's a great game up until then, so I don't just mind that at all. But Kirby's just fun. It's just fun, and it's got a good challenge to it if you want to have the challenge. And I just really love it.
Casey, how about you?
Yeah, it's funny. I was like, "Oh my god, I don't even know what games I
You've
played
beaten.
this year." But yeah, I pulled up the Talk Nintendo thing, and I'm like reading all the little like subtitles to see what games we played. Yeah, I guess right now I'd say Xenoblade is definitely in the running. I'm not there, finished yet, so I don't want to crown it. But it'll definitely be in the conversation. Yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Actually, yeah, what an incredible game. I would say easily the best Kirby game ever. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was just sort of a joy to play, and like Kirby games are always pretty easy, but it didn't feel like overly, oh my god, like this is a cakewalk, I mean, it wasn't hard or anything.
They added a slightly more difficult mode. So.
Yeah, so I like that one a lot. And then, I mean, if we're playing a game I played in 2022 would be Final Fantasy VI, but I know that's cheating. So, but yeah, like I said, probably Xenoblade is probably going to be pushing it. But yeah, I'd say Kirby's right up there too right now.
Well, if you just pretended that you played the Pixel remaster, that technically was released in 2022.
Then that would be the front runner right now.
And Paige, how about you wrap up our episode tonight with your favorite games this year?
I feel like I've barely beaten anything this year, and it's already August. Like, I started a lot, but yeah, sometimes I go to the reviews to see what I've played. So I'm gonna go with Live Alive for now. It was a game I almost gave a 9, but I sort of like dropped down enjoyment a bit at the end. But I did really like it, and most of the time I was playing it, I was like, "Oh, this is so good! I love this." So far, until maybe I beat Xenoblade or Kirby or something. So far, Live Alive.
That's cool.
Oh, I can't wait to play that game after I finish Xenoblade.
Did you buy it?
No, but I'm going to. I really like the demo, and yeah, I mean, obviously Paige loved it, and I know Alex really loved it a lot too. So it definitely going to be playing that one. And it's like a nice 18 to 20 hour game, right? If that.
It took me 23 hours to get all the endings, but I didn't do all the secret, a bunch of secret bosses and stuff. I didn't do that. I just did all the endings.
But that sounds like a nice, especially after Xenoblade. That's
perfect.
That's just what I need.
Cool. Well, I guess Jordan's not here, so I guess I'll have to take his duty of wrapping things up. I think we've hit all the checklist of we made fun of Octopath already, so we're good there.
Don't forget to plug everything.
Oh yeah, so we got the Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/thethirstymage, we got some Patreon only podcasts available. On top of that, we get the episodes out early, so they're posted right away as soon as they're ready, so you get access to those. You also get access to the RPG club if if you're in the White Mage tier, so it gives you access to, if you want to review games, then, we provide you with some review codes and help you write the reviews. We've been doing that for a bit. We also have, sometimes there's just games that we end up playing and we just kind of pass those along. Like I think Bravely Default 2 is going to end up being a game that we give away to someone in September. So we have that. We also have the Twitter account at the Thirsty Mage. We have our Discord where we're always having fun conversations. A lot of Xenoblade 3 talk with spoiler tabs or labels or whatever. So you're not getting the game spoiled, but you're getting to have a nice conversation about how the Xenoblade experience is going. I don't know what the Discord channel is, the Thirsty Mage, then the link to it is in the Twitter feed.
Or you can go to a random spiel of letters and numbers.
Yeah. So I guess the other thing you could do is if you went to, if you didn't have Twitter, you could go to the thirstymage.com website and the Discord link is at the top there. Anything you guys would like to plug?
We need reviews as well because discoverability on some of the podcast apps is not good.
Yeah.
Like you try. I was trying to find podcasts about games on Spotify, and it was like, here's 6. That's it. There you go. Like you can't search for them. It's just yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true.
But yeah, I already mentioned I did the review for RPG Time: The Legend of Wright on RPGsite.net. So
cool.
That's my plug.
Yeah, and Casey, you're still you're close. You passed the 300 episodes already, didn't you? For Talk Nintendo.
Yep, we just released 310 today, so we're chugging along.
310 episodes of goodness.
Yep.
Haven't missed if you're not already listening. Yeah. And then Christy, I don't know if you have anything going on that you wanted to.
Yeah, well, you can. I've launched a little Twitter side project, the eShop Prospector, where I just go through what's on Deku Deals, go through about the first 10 pages to 10 to 12, because that's where the eShop filters out anyway, and look to see what's really good in there that everyone's going to miss because the Nintendo eShop is terrible. And so a lot of games get buried really fast, and there's a lot of good ones out there. So it's Twitter account, it's at eShop Gold, and basically I just plug, some great game I played where I'm playing that is probably on sale that just should get another look. And I do it really stupidly and make some allusion to gold or panning for gold every time because I'm an idiot. But it's fun.
Doing the dirty work so that we don't have to trudge through the endless sea of eShop. It's so hard. Even with eShop now, like all the indie devs have kind of caught on to the trying to, I remember early on in the eShop, they used to go on sale so that they would end up being like, it's almost like promoting, like you get your name out there, but now you can't even do that because there's like 2,000 games on sale.
Yeah, Nintendo had to put in a thing that you couldn't reduce a game to a certain price point because people would bring the game down to less than $1. To get people to buy it, to put it at the top of the charts.
Yep. So I'm just on a poor mission to try to, highlight some games just so they can get a few more sales before the endless sea of releases buries them all.
Cool. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for this week. I know we have one of these days we're gonna get that live spoiler cast going. Paige will be able to track. We've had a guest that we've tried to pin down, and then Jordan has been
slippery like an eel.
Slippery like an eel. He keeps who said he could go on vacation in the middle of summer. I don't know. He didn't.
Who is this person?
He didn't get it authorized. That's all I know. So he's off with his family, playing Xenoblade in the closet when he's got a free minute, I think.
Well, I was going to say also a potential Dirty Mage crossover. I know we're all playing Xenoblade, so we could do a big old crossover spoiler cast at some point. I'm sure everyone here is going to be playing it too. Or we could just do it separately if we don't want to include Jerry.
That's big massive spoiler cast sounds good.
Although with Jerry, it actually is someone who's not a big RPG fan. It's always cool to get his sort of perspective, especially when he falls in love with a game like Xenoblade 3.
Yeah, well, we can't waste the opportunity of him actually playing an RPG. So
yeah, for real. Yeah, we don't have to twist his arm.
That's right. Cool. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening to this week, and if you have had time to leave a review on your podcast player of choice, that'll help with the that discoverability, that'd be great. But otherwise, we'll see everyone out at the next Thirsty Mage. Bye.
Adios.
Bye.